Greetings, it's Ian from RTO here. Welcome to Friday on the channel, which means it is a live album ranking and new albums, etc. So today's live album ranking is a band that I only saw once, and boy was it a great gig. And that is the one and only Moody Blues from Birmingham. They headlined a charity gig that Bevan, ex-Move and ELO, organised for Birmingham Children's Hospital. It was called Heartbeat. A lot of Birmingham bands were there. And from that area, Bob Plant was there doing the Honey Drippers. We had the Applejacks, the Rockin' Berries, the Move, Roy Wood, ELO, and all finished off with the Moody Blues, and in between Jasper Carrot. What a fun day it was. So I loved Moody Blues, and it was just so great to see them in 1986, and it was near enough the full complement still in 86. So brilliant, brilliant show. They've released 8 live albums throughout their career, and to be quite honest, they're all very good in their own way. Ones I prefer than others. So let's get cracking. So coming in at number 8 is one of these live at the BBC packages, where basically it's them doing in sessions at the BBC. Playing on here is Justin Hayward, John Lodge, Ray Thomas, Graham Edge, and Mike Pinder. Classic lineup. So they're all, some of the songs are repeated because they are all separate sessions, and they're all recorded between 1967 and 1970. So it's really a lot of the early stuff. So the first session on here is they do "Fly Me High" from Days of Future Past. Brilliant song, brilliantly done. Then they do a cover version of "Don't Let Me Be Misunderstood." Nina Simone and the Animals have covered it, and even Gary Moore's done it. "Love and Beauty," this is again from Days of Future Past. "Leave This Man Alone." Peak Hour, "Nights in White Satin," which always sounds good whenever you hear it. Then another session starts with "Fly Me High" from Days of Past, Future Past, "Twilight Time," Dr. Livingston, I presume from the In Search of the Lost Chord, "Voices in the Sky," and "Ride My Seesaw," which is a great track. "Best Way to Travel." Then there's another session where it starts off with "Voices in the Sky" and Dr. Livingston. Peak Hour, Tuesday Afternoon, beautiful song. "Ride My Seesaw," "Lovely to See You" from the "On a Threshold of a Dream," wonderful track. And then another track from that album, "Never Comes the Day," "To Share Our Love," "Send Me No Wine," "So Deep Within You," "Lovely to See You." Second disc starts off with 2 tracks from Days of Future Past, another "Nights in White Satin" and "Another Morning." Bit of "Ride My Seesaw" again, Dr. Livingston, I presume. "Voices in the Sky," "The Best Way to Travel," "Visions of Paradise" from In Search of the Chord, great track. A little track, "The Actor." Then we have "Gypsy" from Children's Children, wonderful song. "The Sunset," "Never Comes the Day," "Are You Sitting Comfortably," "The Dream," "Have You Heard," "Nice and White Satin" again from Another Sunshine, "Legend of a Mind," and "Question" from A Question to Balance. Really good little package put together by the BBC. I do like these BBC In Sessions albums. So I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 6.5. Okay, coming in at number 7. Now this was released in 1977. It was never really the band didn't want it to go out, and it's called Seven. It's called Court Live and Seven. That was recorded at the Royal Albert Hall in 1969 with 5 previously unreleased studio recordings from that period. They all said it. The sound's right, and there's one thing about the Albert Hall. The sound, because it's in a round, it just bounces around a bit. I've seen a couple of gigs there, and it is a bit bouncing. So playing on here, of course, it's Justin, John, Mike, Ray, and Graham. They opened this up one from Gypsy of a Strange Distant Time from To Our Children's Children. Then we have Sunset from Days of Future Past. A lot of the tracks are from these great early albums. In Search of the Lost Chord for a bit of Dr. Livingston, I presume. Then we get a Threshold of a Dream for Never Comes the Day. Peak Hour from Days of Future, along with Tuesday Afternoon. Are You Sitting Comfortably from A Threshold of a Dream. The Wonderful Dream from that same album. Have You Heard again, lots of from the Threshold album. The Voyage, Have You Heard, Part 2. Nights in White Satin, of course. Legend of a Mine, Ride My Seesaw. Then they have these, on side 4 you get these 5 tracks. One's called Give Me a Little Something. I like this. The Roy Thomas's flute is wonderful on it. That's the highlight. I think, Please Think About It. Very nice song, some lovely harmonies. A great song written by Mr. Pinder. Long Summer Days, a great Justin Hayward song. A lovely harmonies. Could have come straight off the Days of Future Past album. Really good. I suppose that's when it was recorded. King and Queen, a typical Moody blues song. Orchestral, pastiche. The harmonies, wonderful. Some great drumming from Graham on it. What Am I Doing Here? Another pastiche sort of song. Great vocal. I tend to agree with the band. The sound isn't very good on this album. 5 tracks are really good, but the set's good. So I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 7 out of 10. Okay, coming in at number 6. This came out in the 2000, and it's called Hall of Fame, and it was recorded at the Royal Albert Hall with Orchestra. Playing on here is Justin Hayward, John Lodge, Roy Thomas, Graham Edge. With additional musicians, we've got Paul Bliss and Bias Bushell on keyboards, Gordon Marshall doing some drumming, Tracy Gordon on the backing vocals, and the World Festival Orchestra. So this opens up with a little overture by the band, and it features little bits of Legend of a Mind, Tuesday Afternoon, and Nights in White Satin. And then they go straight into, from Days of Future Past, Tuesday Afternoon, which is one of my favourite tracks on that album. The Wonderful English Sunset from Strange Times. Excellent track. Words to Say from Strange Times is really good. The Story in Your Eyes from Every Good Boy Deserves a Favour. Great track. Then we get to Sur la Mer. I Know Where You're Out There Somewhere. One of the more modern tracks, but it sounds absolutely brilliant with the orchestra. Haunted from Strange Times, really, with the orchestra, sounds brilliant. Your Wildest Dreams from The Other Side of Life, absolutely brilliant. Isn't Life's Train, the great track from John. Seventh Soren, brilliant. Then we have a classic from the same album, I'm Just a Singer in a Rock and Roll Band. Killer track. The beautiful Nights in White Satin that just sounds wonderful every time you hear it live. Legend of a Mind from the Lost Chord album. Bit of Question, great song from A Question of Balance. And as like most of their gigs end, Ride My Seesaw from In Search of the Lost Chord. Excellent album, works well with the orchestra. Very good album all round. Can't complain about this. Play it loud and proud, so I'll give this an RTO ranking of 7.5. Okay, coming in at number 5 is from an album released in 2005, and it's Live at Montreux 1991 on DVD as well. It's Justin, John, Ray, Graham. We've got Blas Boschel, Gordon Marshall, Paul Bliss again. Backing vocals on this one is Shu Shat Tok and June Bounce. Opens up with a lovely rendition of Lovely to See You from The Threshold of a Dream. Then we have a track that I do love, and it's nice to see this on a live album, and that's Gemini Dream from The Long Distance Voyager. Really atmospheric on here. The beautiful Tuesday Afternoon, of course, from Future Past. Then obviously in 91 they were promoting the album Keys of Kingdom, so we got quite a few tracks from here. So the next ones are from that album. Bless the Wings, that brings you back. Great version of it, much better than the studio. Lean on Me, Say It With Love, wonderful tracks live. Then we go to the Every Good Boy Deserves a Favour for Stories in Your Eyes, wonderful, wonderful track. Your Wildest Dreams from The Other Side of Life, I just love that. Isn't Life Strain from the Seventh Soren, brilliant track. Other Side of Life from the album, of course. Bit of I'm Just a Singer, Nice and White Satin, sorry. Legends in the Mind, and of course Question of Balance and Seesaw. Brilliant performance by the band, but the audience seem a little bit lackluster on here, and when you watch it they're very subdued and being very polite, but it's still got a good vibe to it, the music. And I'll give this one an RTO ranking of 8 out of 10. Okay, coming in at number 4. This is recorded in 1992, and it's a night at Red Rocks with the Colorado Symphony Orchestra this time. Now, Red Rocks is a great place. The atmospherics in there are really good to record because it's a natural. This was a fundraising concert, and it was held in celebration for the 25th anniversary of their second album, Days of Future Past. So Moody Blues at the time, it's Justin, John, Ray and Graham, with Paul Bias on doing the keyboards again, Sue Shattuck on backing vocals, Gordon Marshall doing the drums, and the Colorado Symphony Orchestra. Very similar to the one they did at the Albert Hall. So you've got an overture that this time has Ride My Seesaw, Tuesday Afternoon, Forever, Nights in White setting. This, though, starts off with a different track, Late Lament from Days of Future Past. Short little intro before it goes into Tuesday Afternoon, which is just wonderful as ever. Seventh Soren, For My Lady, love that track. Lean on Me Tonight, Keys of the Kingdom, lovely to see you. Another fantastic version of that with the orchestra. I Know You're Out Somewhere, Sous la Mer, The Voyage, Long Distance Voyager, brilliant again. The atmosphere in that Red Rocks was great. The Other Side of Life, Wildest Dreams, Isn't Life Strange, The Other Side of Life, I'm Just a Singer, Nights in White Satin, bit of Question and Ride My Seesaw. Great sound on this. The ambience and atmosphere, brilliant. I've seen clips of this because it's a DVD and it looked a fantastic gig. And I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 8.3. Okay then, coming in at number 3. It was released in 2005 and it's called Lovely to See You. And it was performed in California. It's the first live album since Roy Thomas retired due to his health issues. So the main bulk of the band is Justin, John and Graham. Additional personnel, we've got Gordon Marshall helping Graham on the drums as ever, Paul Bliss, who's been touring with them for a little while, Bernie Barlow doing keyboards, Nora Mullen now takes over doing the flute and guitar instead of Ray. So it opens up because it's called Lovely to See You. So they opened it up with Lovely to See You from Threshold of a Dream album before they go straight into Tuesday Afternoon. Brilliant. Always is brilliant. Lean on Me, wonderful version of that on here. The Actor from the Search of the Lost Chords, brilliant. Then we have a different track on here which is nicely Stepping into a Slide Zone, which is a really funky track. But live it sounds great, and it's from Octave, of course. The voice from Long Distance Voyager is really good on here. Stay with that album, we had Talking Out of Turn. The Sous la Mer for I Know You're Out There Somewhere. Always a good track to have. The Story in Your Eyes from The Good Boy Deserves. Then we have Forever Autumn, which of course Justin sang on Jeff Wayne's War of the World. Brilliant to hear that live. Your Wildest Dreams, The Other Side of Life, wonderful. Isn't Life Strange, It's always good to hear that. The Other Side of Life. Then we had a song off the last album they put out, December, and the wonderful December Snow, which is a really good song. Then we had a Graham Edge song from Higher and Higher from To Our Children's Children, written about the space travel and all that sort of thing. Really good song. Back to the Threshold of a Dream album for Are You Sitting Comfortably? Then John Lodge's classic, I'm Just a Singer in a Rock and Roll Band. Nights in White Satin. Question, Ride My Seesaw. A fabulous live album. I love this. Every track is really good. Shame that Ray had to pack in because of his health, but there's some fun musicians backing up the three lads now. And I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 8.5. Okay, coming in at number 2. This was recorded in Toronto in 2017, released in 2018, and it's Days of Future Past live. It's the first time the band had played the entire album. So joining Justin, John and Graham, so the only members of the classic band still there. We've got Norda Mullen playing flute and guitars, Alan Hewitt on keyboards and vocals, Julie Raggins keyboards and guitars and saxophone, Billy Ashborough on drums and percussion, Jeremy Irons does the narration on this, and he did it brilliantly. And we got orchestral arrangements by Elliot Davies with the Toronto World Festival Orchestra. So they don't open up with the album, they open up with I'm Just a Singer in a Rock and Roll Band. Then they do the voice from Long Distance Voyager, stepping into a Slide Zone from Octave. I love that track. Say It With Love from the Keys of Kingdom, Nervous from Long Distance Voyager. Great they pulled that one out for this gig. Your Wildest Dreams, always a firm favourite from The Other Side of Life. Isn't Life Strange? Then I Know You're Out There Somewhere from Sulam there. And then to end disc 1 we have Story in Your Eyes from Every Good Boy Deserves. So you flick it over to disc 2 or side 2 and you get the whole of the Days of Future Past. Absolutely brilliant. I won't go through the tracks, so we all know the tracks, don't we? It's just a brilliant rendition of it. And then when they finish that, they come out and do Question and Ride My Seesaw. Days of the Future Past is my favourite Moody Blues album of all time. Great hearing it live. Okay, the people say, oh, it's not the original, but people leave and etc. But the musicians they got in to do it is brilliant. It sounds no different. It brought some fresh life into it. I really love this album. I play it a lot. So I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 8.8. But my number 1 live album from the Moody Blues is one that came out not a little while ago, but it was great when it came out. It came out in 2008, and it's live at the Isle of Wight Festival in 1970, August the 30th, 1970. So the lineup, of course, is Justin, John, Ray, Graham, and Mike. So this little set opens up with Gypsy from Our Children's Children. Wonderful version of it. To the Sunset. We've got quite a few songs from the future past. We've got the Sunset, Tuesday Afternoon. From A Question of Balance, the wonderful John Lodge song, Minstrel Song. Beautiful song. I do love that. Never Comes the Day from Threshold, and a classic from Justin. Then we have the wonderful, quirky The Tortoise and the Hare from A Question of Balance. I love that track. A lot of fun. Question itself, which is a classic. Melancholy Man from A Question of Balance as well. Killer track. Are You Sitting Comfortably from The Threshold? The Dream, also from Threshold of a Dream. Then we have quite a lot of tracks from this album. Have You Heard The Voyage? Have You Heard Part 2? Bit of Nights in White Satin, Legend of a Mind, Ride My Seesaw. I think this captures them early days with the full lineup of Moody Blues. Fine performance. The sound on this is really good. Someone took a care to get it right. Classic songs from the classic lineup of Moody Blues. What more do you need? Nothing. It's a beautiful album. So I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 9 out of 10. So there we go. The wonderful Moody Blues, who don't get enough love in my books. I do love this band, and I will continue to play their wonderful music. Okay, that's all for this, but upcoming next is a new album review, and it's the new album from the Black Crows, and it's Happiness Bar Stools, because I'm not saying that word because that's what it's called. So we're going to look at that, and then after that we've got a one-off album as well, so I'll see for that later. Bye for now.